You know, handling immersion is something that not a lot of us get to experience. The privilege of having an excess, the privilege of having so much to go after, and training yourself to be able to focus on what is most valuable. You're in a beautiful space, something that's offering you so much information, so much art and story, so much powerful imagery that you're supposed to be able to navigate with some form of freedom, liberty. What I ask is how much pain comes from failing to know how to navigate that privilege of excess, that privilege of not having to take on every ounce of what's around you. And so I wonder, how do we work to recognize that our world of conversations, talking to each other, being amidst each other, is creating artwork, stories, powerful imagery every second, yet we're not recognizing that we have the ability to dive deep into each person's, say, portrait, right? When we are having a conversation like we've seen, what we usually are failing to do is recognize how much excess we have the privilege to play with, how much of our story does not need to be condensed from exhaustion, how much of our story can be paused and patience can allow for more growth. How often are we failing to recognize that we are living in excess and that we cannot be just distracted, nor caught up in only what we have preordained for ourselves. So when I say you're in a beautiful space of infinite information, you get to look around and see so many things. What happens when one is not tuned for that excess, or one is usually structured into a finite space? There isn't a imagination, there isn't a ability to handle that excess. What happens? What sort of patterns are similarly following individuals who might be trained for a more narrow scope? And what can we do to help expand, or at least help people that are not trained for that, be able to experience the world more so, by being able to recognize that it is this, not just one line that you walk, but a multivariate plan, a multivariate world that has so many nooks to enjoy and so many reasons to stay a while, so many reasons to just continue recognizing where this could go. Now the problem is, how do you not get carried away? As we see around here a good bit, we're using some technology, something that could be beneficial for remorse. Communicative aids and using technology in a way that deliberately is along the lines of helping guide people in a space of excess, of helping guide people figure out what to do when you have a belief but you want to expand on that, and you don't have someone to aid, a governor or some sort of tutor to push you into other spaces. And that's what I ask for. How do we fail to help when people are cutting themselves down, when they have a space that's ready to be received, that's bleeding with excess, but we are not ready for that? Our models, as we've talked about before, a trained model cannot always perform when it's transferred or generalized. How can we help people recognize, without a shame, without a guilt, that they are not executing on the excess, or they're at least staying inside? What I wonder is, I see people who are used to excess. I see people who so deeply communicate to me that they are comfortable and knowledgeable and experienced to traverse some of the most wondrous things in this world. I recognize that I have my own niche, I have my own things, but I fail to sometimes feel like I have that freedom or that liberty to enjoy the excess and not just go for my own pre-trained model. And so what I ask is, how do you handle immersion when you are needing to explore a new space, when you need to get into the world? How do you make sure that you are not distracted? How do you make sure that that excess is not to your detriment? That for the time I'm given, I do not waste what has been shown and been proven through precedent to be so amazing. And how sad is it, how ephemeral these paintings were for the people, in the same way that our conversations are like paintings, and that we fail to dig into them, we fail to navigate them, we fail to immerse ourselves and be well received when our pre-trained models are stuck being caught up. stuck being distracted, stuck not able to expand or grow into more difficult waters. And how do we build governors? How do we build legitimate technology that is paired for that goal? The idea that we give people the beauty and the privilege of that immersion, of that excess, without a model that encourages them to be comfortable in that chaos. And maybe this month, we're not going to have as much technology. I apologize, but I'm feeling a lot of good thoughts. What is your method or go-to plans for how to explore great places? Whether it's conversations, whether it's ideas, or whether it's a museum, what are your tactics for exploring? Oh, really? Drawing is a way for you to take in the space?
Yes.
And do you think it helps you process it, and does it slow you down?
Because you have to take time to do a drawing.
Yes.
What's this for, by the way?
This is a 30-person YouTube channel, or 30 subscriber YouTube channel. Okay. It's a project that I did after I graduated that's trying to basically both take conversations and treat them like the museum / like experiences that they are, that every conversation, every idea is a portrait, and that in the same way, sometimes you're too rushed for the other person, sometimes you're too distracted, you're not in the right space. How is it that we treat with museums or certain spaces with such sacredness, and that we slow down, that we take the effort? Like, imagine if I could sit down with my friend and draw them instead of say, oh, I don't have time for you, or you know what I mean? Like, that's a fantastic answer.
It also, I think, that it also spurs on conversations.
Yes.
Because I find that, especially when I'm like traveling alone, it breaks down conversation barriers between strangers.
Yes.
Because people want to ask you, oh, what are you drawing?
It's a secondary medium to motivate that curiosity.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes.
So it not only helps me engage with, particularly for arts, things that I'm learning from the great masters, I want to have a look and just be like, oh, how do they use that brush? It also helps me sort of interact with the culture and the people around.
Absolutely.
Me. So, yeah.
Do you ever find other artists to work with, or is it usually a solitary?
It's definitely solitary.
Sure. Awesome.
English?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm doing a quick interview for a YouTube channel that asks one question.
Okay.
It is, how do you deal when you're immersing yourself in a place with so many options? How do you deal with there being so many things to look for? And what tools do you try to be able to navigate?
Okay. The Louvre is, there are many things to see.
Mm-hmm.
So we focus our attentions in the arts that we love. La libertà che guida le popolo, I don't know, because I'm Italian.
Yes.
So la libertà che guida il popolo, the painter, the sculpture is, I love that.
Yes.
But I think that the drawing is
Your passion, your biggest
Yeah.
love. So the
Yeah.
answer how I deal with immersion into amazing large places is to follow what you love. How do you deal with immersion when you're at a place with so many options, with so many pieces of work? What is your method for finding out how to enjoy your time?
시간 보낼 때 영화 시간 여기서 이제 작품 Actually, we're just going around the most popular thing.
Sure.
It's just watching that, and I don't have any idea.
Well, you already gave a great answer, which is when you're finding, because for me, I find difficulty when I'm in a place so great and I don't know what to do. And your answer is look to other people. We had another answer, which is, of course, do what you love, but also make sure you're watching the people around you. Make sure you see what there is to see, and go where people are going to. That's all, actually. That's a fantastic answer. One question about how you explore expansive places. When there's so many things to do, so many sights to see, what is your method for having a good time still and not, getting distracted?
It's difficult with our children.
Yes.
Yeah, because they run there, there and there. So we walk and try to select the important, most worth
the places with
paintings.
prestige, the
Yeah.
from Mona Lisa, or
Yeah.
depending on what
So
you like.
We have to be fast.
Yes.
Yeah.
So speed, and also making sure that you have all your people together.
Yes,
And-
yes, that's
but
important.
especially because if those go wrong, it doesn't matter if there's great things because you're not settled. How you navigate complex spaces of beauty, like the museum or anything like a conversation. What is your method for not getting distracted or making sure you see what you meant to see, so to speak? What is generally your rule of thumb, or one of them if you could think of one? And feel free to take time if you need.
Yeah, that's a complex question. The perspective matters. Are you trying to see what's most famous? Are you just trying to have a good time? Are you trying to relax? Are you trying to spend time with the people that you care about?
Absolutely.
It kind of depends on what your goal is, and defining that can be kind of difficult.
Well, you just made another great. I'm so happy people have great answers, because what you're saying is make a plan, preempt what, make sure you know where you're going, and usually we call this a map or something. I'm connecting this to, just like we have museums, which are large expanses. Conversations are also large expanses where each idea is like a portrait, and we sometimes get overwhelmed with the enormity of that. And are there any ways to build tools, or is there a way to use all this fangled technology to help us not be distracted so easily, or not be pulled into things that we're not focused on, or that if we don't have a plan, if we're to be preyed on by attention, what are we to do to help ourselves not get lost?
And I think I think you make a good point about technology, because nowadays technology is trying to grab our attention so much, and then there's the capitalist goals also that are just trying to
The
make us buy
incentivization
something,
of losing meaning, but keeping people's eyeballs everywhere.
We're being bombarded by ads all the time. We're being bombarded by, you should live your life like this, you should live your life like that. So, and especially with technology, 3-second videos, and you're scrolling up reels and stuff like that.
Minimization of time for each other is what's most difficult to me.
Absolutely. It does affect our relationships with people, because now we're like, you see on dating apps, make me laugh, if you can't do that within 2 messages, okay, bye.
Correct.
Something like that. Or, conversations between people, I think small talk, the art of small talk, is kind of losing its way, I think that it's nice to just say, hey, how's it going? How's the family? And that changes depending on cultures.
Focused.
Comment tu concentrer dans un espace aussi grand que ça, et aussi complexe.
Je pense que le fait d'être bien entouré, ça aide beaucoup. Le faire avec les bonnes personnes pour garder l'énergie, la bonne énergie. C'est pour ça que je suis contente de le faire avec toi. Mais avec les bonnes personnes, du coup, on peut garder la bonne énergie et rester avoir cette connexion avec l'environnement et juste le ressentir l'émotion de chaque œuvre. C'est ça qui est cool. Prendre le temps aussi, lâcher les écrans, parler avec les gens qui nous entourent, ça c'est cool. Et ça aide beaucoup, je trouve.